Hi there, I'm Andrea Koppel, and it's time for Coffee, the podcast where you get to hear firsthand what the jobs and careers that interest you the most are really like. Hey there, Java junkies. Welcome to another K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. By the way, K-Cups come in 3 sizes, single, double, and triple shots, or roughly 1 minute, 5 minutes, or 10 minutes in length. So if you don't have time to throw back an entire caffeinated career conversation, these K-Cup mini episodes of T4C can give you a quick caffeinated fix, whether you're on the go or you only have a few minutes to binge. So grab your mug and take a chug, because it's time for a caffeinated career double shot K-Cup with my guest, Michael Counts. You have obviously found a way to marry your creative spirit and your entrepreneurial talents in a way that has allowed you to make, I think, a good living as an artist in immersive entertainment. What advice, Michael, would you have for our young listeners about how to approach their career in this field in a way that will also help them pay the bills?
Think big and value the work that you do. You know, when we were starting out, when I was part of what I described earlier as the sort of downtown avant-garde experimental theater scene in New York, you know, we thought big. Like I didn't want to make small shows in cramped basements as some of the, you know, my peers were. I wanted to do big projects in big spaces with budgets that allowed us to use and employ technology. And that doesn't always necessarily just mean money. It means, you know, we had for 6 years from the mid 90s until the early 2000s, I had a 40,000 square foot ground floor space in Dumbo because me and my colleagues were able to convince the developers of Dumbo, the people who owned most of the real estate in Dumbo, that we would be good for the neighborhood. We would be good for business. And if they gave us space, we would create unique art that would make the neighborhood cool. And we were the very first venue of that kind to open in Dumbo. And as many of your listeners will know, that Dumbo is now one of the most sort of vibrant cultural areas in New York, and it has tons going on and some of the most valuable real estate in New York. And it's because of the movement that me and a lot of my peers and colleagues created back then. And like that was entrepreneurship in a way, but I was still making weird, you know, experimental avant-garde immersive theater at the time. But I saw the value of it from a commercial standpoint and thought big. And was able to then, you know, convince others that there's value. I think, you know, you walk into a room and if you believe it's really valuable, you can make other people believe it's really valuable. And if you believe it's a sort of a frivolous indulgence and that art can't change the world, then it'll probably be perceived as that.
If you were just graduating from college right now, Michael, and you wanted to do this, and it's the coronavirus, we're doing this interview at the end of October 2020. Where would you be looking to go big? Where would you be thinking, hey, here's where I would dig to try to find those opportunities?
You know, I think I've actually often thought about many young colleagues who have, you know, just gotten out of undergrad or graduate school, you know, assistants that I work with. And I've often thought about that. If I were getting out of school now, what would I do if I knowing what I know? And I wouldn't go, even in how you word it, you said, where would you go to find it? Like I wouldn't go anywhere to find it. I would go somewhere to make it myself, start it anew. And I often thought, like a few years ago, I remember when Detroit had just like, you know, hit the bottom and before it started to come up. And I was like, I'm thinking like, man, if I were getting out of college right now, I would convince everybody I know, every artist I know in my school and other schools. And now I'd use social media to do it. And I would just create a movement and basically like say, I'm going to have a party in Detroit and I'm going to go make a cool art scene and you guys should all come join me and go somewhere where there was a lot of opportunity, where the real estate was cheap, where there was a lot of openness because they had nowhere to go but up, and I would just start making things. And I think there are a lot of places in the world where that's the case today. You know, I loved being in Shanghai when I was there. It felt like such a place of opportunity. I think I would go to a place like that, you know, and just buy a building for nothing or next to nothing and start making some crazy art and see where that led.
Thanks for tuning in to this K-Cup mini episode of Time for Coffee. If you want to listen to our entire caffeinated career conversation, please check out the show notes for this episode. Thanks so much for listening to Time for Coffee, where the professionals in the jobs that most interest you always have time to grab coffee 24/7, no matter where you live. I have one quick favor to ask you. Remember to rate, review, and subscribe to Time for Coffee. Thanks so much.